Hey everybody, listen, I want you to take a few minutes and think about this for just a second. So we've been using Lion King to work on words of the wise or aha moments, etc. I want you to think about those characters, that setting, and that initial conflict, right? So think about those characters. We've got Timon, Mufasa, Simba, Nala, Scar. What if we replace those 5 characters with the characters from Frozen? Olaf, Elsa, Anna, Kristoff, and Hans. Wouldn't the story completely change? Wouldn't the conflict, the climax, be completely different the way it was resolved? Wouldn't the ending still be completely different based on the way the characters interact in that setting? What if we put Timon, Mufasa, Simba, Nala, and Scar in the Frozen setting? That would be crazy, but it could happen. So that is your task in this assignment. We're going to do something called Story Shuffle. I feel like I need a dance, but I don't have one right now. I should probably practice that. So here is the concept. We have been studying how settings, characters, and conflict all interact, and how personalities, we just learned that this week, characterization, how characters' personalities really drive what they say, what they think, the effect they have on other people, their attitudes and appearances, and their actions, and the way that they look. Those things all matter and influence or impact the conflicts. And so we're going to do a story shuffle. Here are your directions. You're going to choose one of 2 sets of characters. The first set of characters you can choose are Dieldis, or Daddy D, and Icarus, or you can choose Scoot and Sully. So that's your first decision you got to make. You got to decide which set of characters am I going to shuffle into a new setting. The second thing you have to do then is remember the setting. So I'm not going to make you have to remember that. I'm going to tell you. So Sully and Scoot's setting in Rogue Wave is in the Pacific Ocean for a birthday celebration. And they're on a sailboat where the brother is up top and the sister is inside the boat, and a killer wave, a rogue wave, hits their oh my gosh, I just had a brain fart, hits their boat and turns it upside down. So that's your setting and your conflict in Rogue Wave. In the Flight of Icarus, your conflict, or your setting rather, is an island where the father and son have been trapped, and the only way to get out, no, that's not true. The conflict is they're on this island surrounded by water, and the way they would normally escape an island to the mainland would be through the water. But here's the conflict. King Minos is highly monitoring that water as to not allow Dieldis to escape. That's the initial conflict. How would that change if Sully and Scoot were the ones in having that conflict in that setting, and vice versa? How would Dieldis and Icarus, how would they try to attack the conflict that we find in Rogue Wave, where there's 2 different locations on the boat and this killer wave topples them over? Okay, so I've said a lot about that. The first thing you got to do is decide which characters are you going to story shuffle. Here is your assignment, and I am going to upload this diagram also in Friday's work, and I'll also post your assignment of what you're going to do. So here is the overview of your story shuffle. So if you notice, there are 5 different mandatory requirements for your story shuffle. Everyone must draw a plot diagram. You would use your own paper, obviously, and then you're going to plot out your exposition. Make sure you remember the 3 things that have to be involved in an exposition: characters, setting, conflict. But in this exposition, you are shuffling the characters only. The conflict stays the same, and the setting stays the same. The next part you must create is the climax. How will those 2 characters resolve their conflict? You would need to insert that part here. The third mandatory portion of your plot diagram is your resolution. Remember, the resolution is where the story comes to an end. Finally, once that story has come to an end, the characters have learned a lesson based on the experiences they've had in this setting with this conflict with their fellow character. So you should determine a theme. Remember, your theme never has specific plot details. That's what your resolution or central idea is for. Lastly, you are going to have to develop some characterization. What do I mean by that? You're going to choose the 2 characters that you have story shuffled, so either Icarus and Dieldis or Sully and Scoot, and you are going to choose to give me an example of direct characterization for one or indirect characterization, and then you can choose to give me direct characterization or indirect characterization for the next. If you don't remember what I'm talking about as far as characterization goes, make sure you go back to Tuesday's videos. There's a video by Powtoon that gives some insight, and also Miss Stafford does an excellent video that explains some characterization using Rogue Wave and Sully specifically. And it's not going to give away the answer because Sully, remember, if you're using Sully and Scoot, they're on an island trying to get off of an island. Excuse me. And so there's no answers going to be given away. So you still use those videos. They're totally going to help you, okay? But I'm not finished there. So if you complete the exposition, climax, resolution, theme, and characterization and get all of that right, you have earned a 100. Fantastic. This is exciting. But I'm giving you an opportunity to earn, are you ready? 130 points total. Now, why would I do that? Because this is a difficult assignment, but it's also going to tap into the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy. You are really getting to analyze what happens in the story. You are making a judgment or evaluation of how they would solve the conflict. You're evaluating their personalities. You're evaluating how they're impacting the set, or how the setting is impacting them. That is some top-notch things. But here's the other great part. You get to create. And once you can prove that you can create an idea, that means you have a solid foundation of the previous 5. So I'm going to really tap into your creativity. In that initial assignment you had for me about Watts Scholar Detectives, where you got to choose one of those 6 terms that you most associate with, so many of you chose create. Here is your chance to earn 30 bonus points for your creativity. And just remember, these are extra. You do not have to complete them, but I know I'm getting lots of inboxes about, hey, Miss Watts, how can I raise my grade? Here's how you can raise your grade. You can take on a higher level thinking skill like creation and do it effectively and earn more points. A 130 will definitely help your grade. Here's the thing, you don't have to get the whole thing right for you to get the 15 points per extra part. I'm going to tell you what those extra parts are in just a minute. So, for example, let's go ahead and get to that. So your first opportunity to have 15 extra points is creating some rising action. But I don't want to write a whole whole story. You don't have to. I'm giving you examples of what you could include. So you get to choose one of these 3 items. One of these 3 things are what happen or events that happen in a story that help to build to the conflict's resolution. When I say them, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember those. So you can either insert words of the wiser, hello. You can insert a memory moment between that character, or you can implement an aha moment. If we were plotting any of these on our diagram, it would come right before the climax or conflict is resolved. So you might have something really creative here, but let's say you choose words of the wiser, but it's not really a solid advice. It's not advice that a character could really choose whether or not to take or choose to ignore, like Icarus ignores advice. You might still earn 7 or 8 points because the other parts of it are still solid enough. So my point is, if you want to get a higher grade, because you may have gotten your climax wrong, you may have only earned 20 points out of those 40 points. Well, if you attempt this and get it right, you're really not far off. So there's so many built-in opportunities for you to be successful. But I promised you 2 bonuses. Here you go. Here is your second bonus that's also worth 15 points. So after you have done your characterization, you are going to answer this question. How does the character's personalities influence the conflict's resolution? Now, I don't mean resolution here. I mean your climax. The climax is where the conflict is resolved. So based on the characterization that you created about your characters and how their demeanor is in that new setting, you need to answer that question. That's worth 15 points. If you get it right, you could possibly earn a 130. Look, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this opportunity because it gets to highlight you. It gets to highlight what we've learned. It gets to highlight creativity. And it's not a multiple choice test. So you get to really show how much you know and not just clicking A, B, C, or D. So as an educator, this excites me. I hope that you're excited. And here's the thing. I don't want you to get stressed out that you might not do well and then, Miss Watts, I really didn't understand how we did all of this when we did Rogue Wave or when we did Flight of Icarus or when we did Icarus's Flight. My response to you is going to be, no problem. Let's remediate some and get the skill. What I don't want us to do, and what is so beautiful about the way school is this year, is it's given educators an opportunity to slow down. If you notice, we have not been assigning more than 1 reading a week. Why? Because we really want to pick the text apart and give you guys an opportunity to really, really, really dig deep and analyze like scholar detectives that you are. So if you submit this assignment and it is awful, there's obviously some learning gaps and you just did not get what I was asking, you don't even know how to come up with a climax, you don't know how to come up with a resolution, no problem. I'll get that feedback based on that, and you and I will set up some times to like remediate, and then you can redo it. Do not turn in mess. This is not about turning in mess. This is about showing just how much you have learned, even in a small amount of time, even when you're only coming to school 2 days a week, even when you are thrown into all this new. You have the skill set, you have the ability. I would have never assigned it if I didn't think you could do it. Is it going to be tough for some of us? Absolutely. but nothing in life is worth more than when we have individual aha moments, when we thought we couldn't do it, and we just work through it and war through it and practice, and we finally get it. And when we finally get it, the sky is the limit. ELA will never be a problem for us because we know how to analyze conflict, setting, and characters, and how they interact in a text, how they then, that drives us to a central idea and drives us to a theme. And even when our teacher flips it up on us and allows us to swap stories and put one set of characters in a new setting and this set of characters in a new setting. Lord. Okay, that's my sign to go. So we'll have plenty of opportunity to ask questions. I'll talk with you guys soon.